As a child, the Toy Story movies were always something I had a deep, personal connection with. The adventures these characters would go on, along with the challenges and emotional hardships they would face along the way, resonated with me so deeply. But no character demonstrated these traits better throughout this saga of films than Buzz Lightyear. Throughout the Toy Story movies, Buzz stayed true to his bravery. He was a fearsome leader, a kind individual who struggled to accept his true origins. But most importantly, he was a loyal friend who put others before himself. I always had a fascination with this character, someone I could look up to, follow in his inspirational footsteps. And when I heard the news that Pixar would be making a spin-off Buzz Lightyear film, I knew that once again I would be able to relive my childhood dream of...
Can you stop? What was wrong with that? You're doing it again.
Doing what?
You know, when you do the whole over-dramatic opening, it's overdone.
I was expressing my feelings.
I thought you said that your favourite character from the Toy Story movies was Woody.
No, I don't think that's right.
Really? Then why do you still have this?
Can you just let me... Okay? So, Lightyear came out recently, and overall, I thought it was a pretty good film. One in which I was very excited for. But really, I love the idea of making a movie that Buzz Lightyear the toy was based off. I think on its own, that is a really interesting concept that can be explored in a lot of depth if done right. A movie in another movie's universe. It's not a bad idea. Buzz in the Toy Story movies is a fun 90s action hero that is parodying other sci-fi films of the time. Of course, now he's more grounded and serious, but nonetheless, it's a good idea. There are so many throwaway lines and references in the Toy Story movies about the film Buzz Lightyear is based off, so I was very interested to see what they would do with all of that story-wise, and how they would thread it into one cohesive narrative. It could have been a huge mess, and it wasn't, so I think they did a good job with that. But in saying that, they always ran into the problem with how much they include.
Right now, poised at the edge of the galaxy, Emperor Zurg has been secretly building a weapon with the destructive capacity to annihilate an entire planet. You killed my father!
No, Buzz. I am your father.
I didn't really know how they were going to include any of that without it just seemed like they were ripping off Star Wars. So I was happy for them to create their own story about the origins of Buzz Lightyear. Even if it doesn't really fit up with what we know from the Toy Story films. That's because the story structure and how all the events unfolded was done pretty well. Well, mostly. If we look at this film through the 3-act structure, I think the first act of this film is incredible. The first 25 minutes of this movie is a roller coaster of emotions. I didn't think there were going to be many quote-unquote Pixar moments that make you cry within this film, but that opening, that hits hard. It's very similar to the opening in Up. Maybe not as hard-hitting, but it's still pretty good. The action, the conflict, the emotions, all piled into the first act were great. I just remember sitting in the cinema during the first act of this film and thinking, I think they've done it. This could be one of Pixar's best. And then we move on to the main plot throughout the second act, and that's when things start to slow down a bit. I think the best characters in this movie are certainly Buzz, Izzy, and Socks. While Buzz and Izzy get the most character development and screen time throughout the film, Socks is just a great character in his own right. I feel like that's where some of the best jokes and comic relief come from. However, the other side characters are not as good. The rookie group is really riding on the whole underdog cliche, and I just don't think these characters are as compelling. They even brought in Taika Waititi to voice one of the characters, and for someone who is so funny and can nail comedic timing in everything he's in and directs, I just didn't think a lot of his lines were that funny. If you think back to the gang from Toy Story, I feel like they naturally bounce off each other a lot better with their conflicting personalities. In this sense, it still works, just not as well. I feel like these characters are just not as memorable. I also think it was a missed opportunity not to explore more of this galaxy with endless possibilities, because most of the film takes place on one planet where the rookie squad are just making mistakes and then fixing those mistakes, and it just felt like it got stretched out for a bit too long. Buzz's catchphrase is literally, "To infinity and beyond. So, yeah. These moments are not bad. I still feel like they're nice moments that focus and build on the central characters. But considering the villain Zurg wasn't really fleshed out as the main antagonist, it doesn't really work as well. Plus, he got defeated really quickly. I think Zurg could have been a good threat, and could have been a really menacing villain if they just spent more time developing him, because him and the final act of the film felt like they were over really quickly. But even though this movie doesn't hit all of the marks, it's still an entertaining movie that I got a kick out of watching. It doesn't reach the heights as the Toy Story films did, but if you look at it as its own standalone space adventure, it can still work. It's still got a decent score on Rotten Tomatoes, but compared to other Pixar film ratings, it's not as good. But hey, at least the 2,500 people that left a review thought it was good. Hang on. 2,500 seems kind of low. Hang on, how much did Toy Story 4 have? Oh wow. Yeah, that's a lot more. Hang on, what did Lightyear make at the box office? Oh, okay. Well, what did Toy Story 4 make? What? Okay, yeah, there's definitely a bit of a difference there. But if you separate both Toy Story and Lightyear, you shouldn't compare them.
But you've been comparing them?
No I haven't.
Yes, you have.
A movie in another movie's universe. Buzz in the Toy Story films is a fun, funny action hero that is parodying other sci-fi films of the time. Of course, now he's more grounded and serious. If you think back to the gang from Toy Story, I feel like they naturally bounce off each other a lot better, even if it doesn't reach the same heights as the Toy Story film. Oh. So, I thought that Lightyear would do really well considering it's attached to such a big franchise like Toy Story. But I was wrong. Toy Story 3 and 4 both made over $1 billion, and Lightyear, in comparison, is doing significantly worse. Even original films like Coco, that weren't even based on anything previously, were still doing really well. So, what went wrong with Lightyear? Personally, I can think of a few main arguments. The first and the biggest argument is that it's not Toy Story. Many people grew up with the Toy Story films, and even though you can look at Lightyear as its own story, it's hard to when it's based on something that is already so successful and loved. Therefore, people might not have been as keen to see this movie. I can't help but think that if this wasn't a Buzz Lightyear movie and instead was just an original idea, it might have been more popular because it doesn't have those high standards that Toy Story set. I don't think this movie was just made to sell toys. I still think there's a really interesting and compelling story to be told here. Besides, does anyone really fall for those old marketing techniques?
Hey, this just arrived. Apparently you ordered it on Tuesday.
What? No, that's not mine. I think they have the wrong address.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll just return to sender.
Actually, no, that's a lot of work for you. Just leave it with me.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anyway, I do think that this film is being overshadowed by Toy Story, and even though you can look at it as its own standalone space adventure, it's kind of hard not to relate it back to Toy Story, especially with all of the references in this film, which, even though I did love and found really nostalgic, it doesn't really help the film. I think another reason why this film hasn't performed as well as it should is because of the pandemic the last couple of years, and how Pixar films were released. The last few Pixar movies have gone straight to Disney+, so it's quite possible people are just used to Pixar movies going straight to streaming. So maybe this film will get more people talking about it once it's gone to Disney+. Just look at Encanto. When that was in cinemas, no one was talking about it, but as soon as it went to Disney+, it was everywhere. And it's not like they haven't tried to advertise this film. I was at the airport the other day and I saw this. I mean, come on. How cool is that? How does that not make you want to see the film? And once I had left the airport, in the span of about 20 minutes, I saw this massive billboard 5 times in 5 different locations. People knew this film was coming out. But I did like going back to the cinema to go see a Pixar film on the big screen. The last time I did was 2019 with Toy Story 4, so that's kind of poetic. I still liked this film. It was pretty good and definitely more of a different direction for Pixar. It's not a perfect film and there's definitely a few issues with it, but overall, 7 out of 10, it's a good watch. Maybe if it leaned more into the 90s sci-fi film era, it could have really stood out, but I don't mind a more serious take on Buzz Lightyear. This film does tease a sequel in its end credit scene, but if that will happen now, who knows. I think this could be a really good opportunity for its own franchise, but I don't know if the first film will convince a lot of people that this is a good idea to go forward and make more of these. Who knows? Only time will tell. But what did you guys think of Lightyear? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I will see you next Friday.